Okay, so good morning everyone. I am Jeremacel Benafe and today I will be reporting my assigned task which is all about drugs for coagulation disorders. So for our learning outcomes, first is we will understand the etiology of blood clot or blood coagulation. Then know the different risk factors as well as the signs and symptoms. And lastly, enumerate the drugs used for coagulation disorder. So what are the contents of my report? First is we have the overview of the blood clotting. We also have the risk factors, the signs and symptoms, as well as we will also discuss the coagulation cascade, and then the anticoagulant drugs and fibrinolytic drugs. So let's start with the overview of the blood clotting. So what is blood clotting? So blood clotting, or also known as coagulation, is an important process that prevents excessive bleeding when a blood vessel is injured. So platelets, which are a type of blood cell, and then proteins in the plasma, yung liquid part of the blood, they work together to stop the bleeding by forming a clot over the injury. So ibig pong sabihin, if may wound po tayo or injury, naturally is mag-bleed talaga yan siya. So ang role po ni platelet is mag-stick together siya to form clot para maiwasan po yung more na pagdugo. Okay? So typically, our body naturally dissolve the blood clot after the injury has healed. However, sometimes clots form on the inside of vessels without an obvious injury or do not dissolve naturally. So kapag magaling na daw yung sugat natin, naturally is nadidissolve na yung mga blood clots. But there are also instances na hindi siya natutunaw. So kapag nangyari po ito, medyo delikado po siya. That's why it requires accurate diagnosis and appropriate treatment. So next is we have the formation of clots. So our clots or the blood clots, they can occur in veins or arteries. So itong veins or arteries natin, they are both vessels that part of our body's circulatory system. So even though they are both type of blood vessel na nag-help transport ng blood throughout our body, may kanya-kanya pa rin po silang function. So for our vein, these are low-pressure vessels that carry the oxygenated blood away from the body's organs and back to the heart. While ang ating arteries naman po, they are muscular, high-pressure vessels that carry oxygen and nutrient-rich blood away from the heart and towards other parts of the body. So yan po yung kanilang difference. So ano naman po yung difference if halimbawa sa vein or sa artery mabuo yung blood clot? So pag sa vein po siya, it restricts the return of blood to the heart and can result in pain and swelling as the blood gathers behind the clot. So halimbawa po ng type of clot na nabubuo sa vein is the very common, which is the deep vein thrombosis, and we also have the PE or the pulmonary embolism. So yung ating DVT po or the deep vein thrombosis, nabubuo po ito siya commonly sa major vein ng ating leg, and yung less common naman na mga parts is sa arms, pelvis, and other large veins in the body. Then, meron din po tayong mga cases na nag-aalis po yung clot sa vein natin and nagta-travel siya sa heart papuntang lungs. So, kapag ganito po ang nangyayari, gina-prevent po ng clot ang adequate blood flow. So, ang tawag naman po dito is si pulmonary embolism, which is very dangerous po talaga siya. Okay? And for the arteries naman, associated with atherosclerosis, a deposit of plaque that narrows the inside of a vessel. So, since yung mga build-up po na plaques is paliitin niya yung daluyan ng dugo, ang nangyayari po is yung muscle sa arteries natin, patuloy pa rin yung pagdaloy ng blood doon sa opening. And because of the too much pressure, pwede po ma-rupture yung mga plaques, wherein yung mga molecules ng plaques, pwede siyang mag-produce na naman ng another unnecessary clots doon sa artery, in which it can now lead to heart attack and even stroke. Kasi nga, hindi na regular yung flow ng ating blood. That is why it is very important po to know the early signs or symptoms, kasi kapag nawalan po ng blood supply, yung heart natin or ang brain natin because of the clot, pwede po ma-damage ang ating mga organs. So, next naman po dito is the risk factors. So, sino po yung mga may greater chance to have this coagulation disorder, or sino yung mga prone dito? So, number 1 is obesity. So, ang mga body fats po, pwede silang makapanarrow ng blood vessels. So, pwedeng mabuo yung mga clots. Second is the pregnancy. So, ang pagbubuntis naman, it changes the plasma levels of some clotting factors such as the fibrinogen, in which pwede namang tumaas naman yung value ng clotting factors. Then, next is the immobility. So, when the leg remains still for long period of time, hindi siya masyadong nagagalaw. So, yung mga muscles po sa paa natin, hindi din masyadong makacirculate yung blood. So, yung blood clot, pwede siyang mabuo. And then, we also have here smoking. So, may mga chemicals such as the nicotine, which is present in the cigarette, na it will make certain proteins in our blood stickier or yung malapot. So, this increase the risk of dangerous blood clots. And then, we also have the oral contraceptives. So, di ba yung mga oral contraceptives po natin is meron siyang content na estrogen or progestogen. So, itong dalawang drug po is they can affect the blood clotting. And then, cancer, certain cancers. So, people with cancer, madalas po is malapot yung dugo nila. So, this may be because yung cancer cells nag-produce ng chemicals na makastimulate sa body to produce clotting factors. And then, certain surgeries. Siyempre, kapag naoperahan po yung isang tao, and then magstay siya sa operating bed for a long period of time, so yung blood is, it will settle and pool, which makes it easier to form blood clots. And then, age. So, yung risk daw po ng blood clot formation is tumataas siya habang tumatanda. So, syempre, pag matanda na, wala na masyadong movement, nagahiga na lang. So, pwedeng mabuo din yung blood clots. And then, family history or genetics. So, itong mga blood coagulation disorder, it can run from one generation to another or hereditary. And then, chronic inflammatory disease, the inflammation itself, pinapataas niya yung mga pro-coagulant factors. No? So, mas may chance din na mabuo yung mga clots. And then lastly is the high blood pressure or the high cholesterol. So, yung high blood pressure, syempre, madadamage yung walls ng ating arteries, and then it will lead to formation or deposits of plaque na pwedeng makapaliit doon sa arteries or maka-block. So, yung mga deposits na yon, it can also lead to blood clots. Next naman po is the signs and symptoms. So, it is very important po na to be aware of the signs and symptoms of blood clots. So, depende po siya kung saan po located yung blood clots. So, yung mga signs and symptoms, nakadepende po siya kung saan po makikita yung mga blood clots. So, halimbawa, sa heart, yung clot. So, commonly, yung mga mafe-feel ng isang patient is chest heaviness or pain, discomfort, then shortness of breath, and sweating. Pag sa brain naman, yung clot, weakness of the face, arms, or legs, then difficulty in speaking, vision problems, sudden and severe headache, lightheadedness, and dizziness. Pag sa arm naman or leg, yung blood clot, makaka-feel ang patient ng sudden or gradual pain, swelling, as well as tenderness and warmth. Pag sa lungs naman, yung blood clot, ano yung symptoms? Sharp chest pain, racing heart, and worst is coughing up blood. So pag mag-ubo siya, may kasamang dugo. And lastly is sa abdomen. So pag sa abdomen naman, merong severe abdominal pain, vomiting, and diarrhea. So next is the coagulation cascade. So, yung aggregation or yung formation po ng ating platelet, acting like a clot, is minsan hindi po siya enough to secure the site of injury. So, in order to strengthen the platelet plaque, kailangan meron pong blood clot na mabuo. So, the formation of clot involves cascade of enzyme reactions that transform various clotting factor to react and form fibrin mesh. So, for our coagulation cascade, meron po tayong dalawang pathway, si intrinsic and extrinsic. So, our intrinsic pathway, ma-activate po siya by damage to the blood vessel wall or injury to the blood vessel wall. While ang ating namang extrinsic pathway, ma-activate siya by trauma to the vascular wall of surrounding tissue. Okay? So, kailan nag-uumpisa si intrinsic pathway? So, nag-uumpisa po siya sa clotting factor 12, which is activated naman po siya when yung blood natin, it comes in contact with the collagen in the damaged vascular wall. So, as you can see there, yung clotting factor 12, it will lead to the activation of the clotting factor 11. And then, dito naman sa ating extrinsic, on the other hand, so matrigger siya ng tissue factor, in which nag-uumpisa siya sa activation of the factor 7, in which yung factor 7 naman, i-activate niya yung factor 10. So at this point, dito sa gitna, the intrinsic and the extrinsic pathway is mag-meet sila or mag-converge into the common pathway. So mag-meet sila dito, which again result dito sa pinakababa or the formation of fibrin clot. So yan po yung coagulation cascade. Okay, so let's proceed with the basic pharmacology of the anticoagulant drugs. So, first group here, we have the indirect thrombin inhibitors. So, ito sila is, ang kanilang thrombotic effects are exerted by their interaction with a separate protein, which is tinatawag na antithrombin. So, yung antithrombin, it is a natural anticoagulant na nag-circulate sa ating blood. So, itong antithrombin, gina-activate niya yung 10A and thrombin. So, basically, when we say anticoagulant, ang main work po talaga nila is they interfere with the coagulation cascade. So, under indirect thrombin inhibitors, we have the unfractionated heparin, the low molecular weight heparin, the enoxaparin, dalteparin, tinzaparin, and fondaparinux. So what is the mechanism of action of our heparin? It is a heterogeneous mixture of sulfated mucopolysaccharide which binds to endothelial cell surfaces and a variety of plasma protein. So its biologic activity is dependent upon the endogenous anticoagulant, antithrombin. So meron tayong high molecular weight and low molecular weight na heparin. So yung high molecular weight, they have high affinity for antithrombin, while ang low molecular weight naman is they have less effect on the thrombin. Then we also have the fondaparinux. So what are the toxicity which is associated with the heparin or the indirect thrombin inhibitors? So syempre, number one is bleeding. So it can be decreased by control of dosage or close monitoring. And then, yung mga elderly women natin na nag-take ng heparin and patients with renal failure, they are more prone to hemorrhage. And then, increased loss of hair and reversible alopecia have also been reported. And then, pag long-term naman yung therapy natin with the heparin, it is associated with osteoporosis and spontaneous fracture. So, what are the contraindications? So, bawal siya sa mga merong heparin-induced thrombocytopenia, hypersensitivity to heparin, active bleeding, hemophilia, purpura, severe hypertension, intracranial hemorrhage, active tuberculosis, threatened abortion, and advanced hepatic or renal disease. So, paano natin ma-reverse yung effect ni heparin? So, for every 100 units of heparin remaining in the patient, 1 milligram of protamine sulfate is given intravenously. So, the rate of infusion should not exceed 50 milligram in any 10-minute period. Then we also have oral direct factor 10A inhibitor. So we have rivaroxaban and apixaban. So rivaroxaban is approved for prevention of venous thromboembolism following hip or knee surgery. Then we also have apixaban, which is currently in clinical development. Then for our direct thrombin inhibitors, meron tayong ginagamit parenteral as well as oral. So for our parenteral, we have the hirudin, bivalirudin, argatroban, and melagatran. For the oral naman, we have the dabigatran, etexylate, mesylate. So what is the mechanism of action? Yung mga drugs po na nabanggit ko, they directly bind to the active site of thrombin, thereby inhibiting thrombin's downstream effects. Okay, next group of drug is the warfarin and other coumarin anticoagulants. Okay, so Para po mas maintindihan natin yung work ni warfarin, kailangan po malaman din natin yung role ni vitamin K doon sa coagulation cascade. So, our vitamin K is kailangan po siya for the synthesis of factors 2, 7, 9, and 10. So, I repeat, yung vitamin K po, required siya for the synthesis of factors 2, 7, 9, and 10, which are biologically inactive and requires carboxylation by the vitamin K. And then, yung carboxylation naman, it proceeds when there is reduced form of vitamin K available. So, in this process, the reduced vitamin K is oxidized to vitamin K epoxide in the presence of oxygen and carbon dioxide. So, ngayon is meron na tayong carboxylated, fully active clotting factors. So, yung oxidized vitamin K naman, they are recycled back to reduce vitamin K by the vitamin K epoxide reductase na enzyme. And what warfarin does is that it inhibits the enzyme and disrupt the vitamin K dependent synthesis of biologically active clotting factors as well as some other regulatory factors. So, meron lang mga very important na disadvantage si vitamin K, si warfarin, I mean, because it has a narrow therapeutic window and associated daw siya with drug and drug food interactions. So next is the toxicity of the warfarin. So number 1 is birth defects kasi makakause siya ng hemorrhagic disorder sa fetus. And then cutaneous necrosis or commonly known as the gangrene. And then hemorrhagic infarction. So itong hemorrhagic infarction, pwede po siyang mag-lead into impaired memory or other inflammatory responses. So what is the administration of the warfarin? So standard dose initially is 5 to 10 milligrams. And the therapeutic range is defined in terms of an INR or International Normalized Ratio. That's why, as I have said earlier, yung warfarin po natin is it has a narrow therapeutic index. That's why very important po to monitor the INR, which is the prothrombin time ratio. So, we need to adjust the dose necessary para mabalance po yung risk of bleeding against the risk of clotting. So, what are the drugs used to reverse the effect of warfarin? So, commonly, yung ginagamit po natin na antidote is the vitamin K. So, meron tayong oral and parenteral. Then, pwede po din tayong magamit ng fresh frozen plasma, prothrombin complex concentrates, and recombinant factor 7A. And we have the basic pharmacology of fibrinolytic drugs. So, ito na mga drugs, the group of drugs is they rapidly lyse the thrombi by catalyzing the formation of the serine protease plasmin from its precursors zymogen, plasminogen. So, ito po yung mga fibrinolytic drugs is yung mga nag-end po sa ACE or ACE. Streptokinase, urokinase, anistreptase, altiplase, retiplase, and tenecteplase. So, streptokinase is a protein synthesized by streptococci that combines with the proactivator plasminogen. So, this enzymatic complex catalyzes the conversion of inactive plasminogen to active plasmin. Then we also have the urokinase, a human enzyme synthesized by the kidney that directly converts plasminogen to active plasmin. Then we have the anistreptase, consists of a complex of purified human plasminogen and bacterial streptokinase that has been acylated to protect the enzyme's active site. But ito pong anistreptase is discontinued na po ang kanyang gamit doon sa USA. Then we have altiplase, retiplase, and tenecteplase, which are recombinant human TPA that activates plasminogen bound to fibrin, which confines fibrinolysis to the formed thrombus and avoids systemic activation. So, para saan po ginagamit ang mga fibrinolytic drugs? So, ginagamit sila intravenously in cases of pulmonary embolism with hemodynamic instability, severe deep venous thrombosis, and ascending thrombophlebitis. And last one is the anti-platelet drugs. So, kanina, yung anticoagulant natin, yung main work nila is they interfere with the coagulation cascade. So, ito namang anti-platelet drugs is they work by preventing the platelets from clumping and also prevent the clots from forming and growing. So, we have the aspirin, also known as the acetyl salicylic acid. Then we have the clopidogrel and ticagrelor. So, syempre, yung main risk talaga ng antiplatelet drug is excessive bleeding. Then, upset stomach. Then, meron din tayong aspirin-induced asthma as well as epistaxis or nosebleed. So, that's all for my report and thank you for listening.